3 years ago, right after drinking the wedding wine, Jiheng rushed off to the battlefield, leaving me alone to guard the vast general's manor. 3 years later, Jiheng returned victorious from war. The first thing he did was to kowtow to the emperor, requesting to take an equal wife with his military merits. I clutched my chest, nearly unable to breathe. Scared me to death, I thought he found out about me sending his old mother to meet her maker. The army returned victorious, and Jiheng was covered in glory. When he stood before me smiling, I still felt a bit dazed. How come this man didn't die on the battlefield? Had I known, I should have struck first and just hired someone to kill him. Jiheng didn't know the malice in my heart. His handsome face was full of joy as he spoke. He wanted to take an equal wife with his military merits. After 3 years apart, he didn't care about the general's manor, didn't ask about his mother who passed away last year, but was eager to hold a wedding and become a groom. That old hag shouldn't have kept him when she kept the placenta back then. My probing gaze fell on the girl hiding behind Jiheng like a rabbit. Slender figure, delicate as a willow in the wind, looks weren't bad, just too much desire in her eyes. Oh my days. The moment this Zhousheng appeared, I could smell the drama. The description of her eyes being full of desire is just too accurate. You can tell at a glance she is an ambitious little girl, but honestly, being able to hook up with the general in the military camp, she's got some skills. There is definitely going to be a good show next. I've already got my popcorn ready. Jiheng caught my gaze and hurriedly spoke. This is Miss Zhousheng. She is the daughter of one of my deputy generals. That deputy general died blocking an arrow for Jiheng, and before death, entrusted his only daughter to Jiheng. The two spent day and night together in the army, and feelings secretly grew between them. Huaiyi, what do you think? Jiheng's eyes were full of anxiety. Before I could speak, that Miss Zhou beat me to it. Hengege's sister isn't saying anything. Does she dislike me? It is fine if I don't enter the manor. As long as I can stay by Hengege's side, I'll be content. Her expression was timid and flustered, as if I were some kind of monster. Jiheng looked at me disapprovingly. Huaiyi, now that you are the mistress of the general's manor, you should learn to be more magnanimous. That petty merchant mentality needs to change. I immediately curved my lips, and my gorgeous smile instantly captivated Jiheng. Miss Zhou is such a lively and lovely girl, who wouldn't like her? I turned to instruct the maid Achu. Hurry, go fetch that gold inlaid jade bracelet from the bottom of my chest. Achu left and came back, and without a word, I slipped the bracelet onto Zhousheng's wrist. Zhousheng was dazzled by the golden glitter on her wrist, and the tears she had been holding in her eyes for show were forcibly held back. I had the servants settle Zhousheng in, and specifically instructed that Miss Zhou must be given the best courtyard and the finest supplies. This person must be well taken care of. She is my trump card for escaping this sea of suffering. Seeing how cooperative I was, Jiheng's eyes showed approval. Heaven truly favors me, a virtuous wife, and a beautiful concubine by my side. Huaiyi, from now on, the three of us will live happily together. I lowered my eyes to hide my contemptuous gaze. General, please come with me first. Jiheng followed me back to the small courtyard. Full of confusion, I dismissed all the servants, then took out 13 indenture contracts. General, you've been away from home for 3 years. During the 2 years the old madam was still alive, she took in 13 concubines for you. Jiheng was so shocked he choked on his tea. What? How could mother be so foolish? I smiled without saying a word. Before the marriage, that old hag coveted the vast fortune my parents left me, and didn't hesitate to use the favor between our parents' generation and my reputation to force me to marry Jiheng a year after Jiheng went to war. She looked down on my merchant background, and to better control me, she added concubines to her son's backyard every few days. Almost every time there was news of soldiers returning to the court, she would bustle about arranging to bring in new people. 13 in 2 years. This matter became quite the talk of the capital city back then, causing Jiheng's reputation to suffer greatly even while he was far away at the border. I embellished the story and told Jiheng about the stupid things his mother had done. Jiheng's face carried a hypocritical look of guilt as he tightly grasped my hand. Huaiyi, these past 3 years, you've had it hard. I suppressed my disgust, trying my best to ignore that hand defiled by him. General, you should first think carefully about how to settle those 13 concubines. Otherwise, Miss Zhou might start feeling uncomfortable. Shenger is a woman like the clear breeze and bright moon. She wouldn't. I smiled and said, Miss Jo is now like drifting duckweed in a state of fear and unease, and she has such deep affection for the general. How could you wrong her in matters of marriage? Ji-hung thought it made sense and asked me what suggestions I had. Why doesn't the general properly send the 13 sisters out of the residence? Change their status to commoner registration and give them some money to support themselves. That would be a good deed. Ji-hung praised this greatly. Then let's do as you say. I'll handle the commoner registration and you distribute the silver. I smiled lightly and agreed, but in my heart, I secretly breathed a sigh of relief. The first hurdle was finally passed. Afterward, I took out the divorce document I had prepared long ago. Additionally, I will request a divorce myself to fulfill the general and Miss Jo's union. Ji-heng's smiling face instantly froze, replaced by embarrassment turning into anger. What are you making a fuss about? If you don't want me to marry Shenger, just say so directly. Why put on such a pretentious act, General? Don't be hasty. Vice General Jo did you a great favor, and Miss Jo is his only remaining bloodline. After much thought, I fear the status of equal wife isn't worthy of her. Ji-hung's anger hadn't subsided, and he spoke without thinking. Then, let's switch. Give her the position of principal wife, and you become the equal wife. That way you won't need to leave me. I secretly gritted my teeth. This bastard, I suppressed the urge to beat someone up and spoke with a threatening tone. Is the general planning to never walk the court halls again by acting this way? Bloody hell, this Ji-heng is simply taking the piss. First, he wants to marry an equal wife. Now he wants to make the original wife a concubine. This kind of double standard is absolutely vomit-inducing, but our female lead's threat this round is absolutely brilliant, directly threatening this career-obsessed scumbag with his career prospects, simply hitting where it hurts most. At the mention of his career, Ji-heng finally gathered some of his senses, but not much. Let me think more about the divorce matter. Right now there is another more important issue. Shenger currently has no home and no possessions. We can't let her marry in too shabby a manner. You'll handle the wedding arrangements, and also set aside half of your dowry for her. It doesn't need to be too much. Even though I've spent these 3 years honing the ability to remain unfazed, even if the sky fell, I was still so angered by Ji-heng's shameless behavior that I laughed. No wonder he refused to sign the divorce document. So this is what he was waiting for. There is none left, I said indifferently. What do you mean none left? My dowry, it is long gone. Ji-heng couldn't hold back, his voice suddenly rising high. You are talking nonsense. Don't think I don't know how much your dowry was worth. Now I am only asking you to take out half, and you are being so secretive about it. Truly classless, I sneered, before the old madam passed away. She heard from somewhere that the Jade Mountains in the southwest could make big money, so she seized my dowry to buy Jade Mountains. Who would have thought it was all a scam, and a huge sum of money went down the drain. The case is still sitting on the Chief Justice's desk at the Court of Judicial Review. Why doesn't the general go take a look? It was also because of this matter that the old madam became so enraged that she fell ill and never recovered. Ji-hung's expression turned quite ugly upon hearing this. Such an important matter. Why am I only being told now? The old madam forbade anyone from speaking of it outside. The entire manor was sworn to secrecy. This was a lie. The old hag wanted to find someone to back her up and sent over a dozen family letters to her son, but they were all intercepted by me. The Jade Mountains were also fake. It was actually a scheme I set up to transfer my dowry. Originally, I wanted to swindle some of the General's Manor's family assets too, but who knew the old hag was so tight-fisted, only squeezing money from me. In the past 3 years, I failed to properly look after the General's manor and the old madam for the General. I am truly ashamed. Moreover, when the old madam was gravely ill, I tested medicine for her and ruined my body. I am afraid I may have difficulty conceiving in the future. The General should just sign this divorce document. How can the General's manor have an infertile mistress? Ji-heng's emotions rose and fell several times. And when he heard I couldn't bear children, his expression became extremely ugly. But the moment he saw my feigned tearful face, he couldn't bring himself to say any words of blame. He held me in his arms with tender affection, softly expressing his apologies. I felt so disgusted I wanted to vomit, but seeing that success was just one step away, I could only force myself to endure it. Yet Ji-hung's hands began to wander restlessly. I suddenly raised my head only to see Ji-hung gazing at me with deep affection. Back then, I couldn't give you a proper wedding night. Why don't we fulfill that regret tonight and leave each other with a memory? What the actual fuck? This Jihang is absolutely disgusting. The divorce document is already on the table and he still wants to take advantage. This kind of scumbag behavior is simply nauseating. Luckily, our female lead is clever and already prepared a small knife for self-defense. At times like this, she should just stab him and let him know what proper consequences are. This bastard is actually so vicious and despicable. The divorce document is already laid out on the table, yet he still wants to ruin my virtue. I secretly braced against his approach, one hand already reaching for the short knife I kept for self-defense. Suddenly, a Chu's loud shout came from outside the door. General, someone from the West Courtyard, came to report that Miss Zhou is feeling unwell. The West Courtyard is where Zhou Sheng currently lives. Upon hearing this, Jihang instantly released his grip on me. Sorry, Huai, I need to go check on her. After saying that, he hurriedly ran outside. It wasn't until he disappeared from sight that I finally gasped for breath. Good thing you made it in time, and good thing you came up with this trick. A Chu looked confused. Miss, someone really did come from the West Courtyard. I was also worried about you, Miss, so I hurried over to deliver the message. Oh, now that is interesting. Seems like this Miss Zhou isn't as pure and innocent as she appears, but it is none of my business anyway. I pressed down on the nausea rising in my chest. A Chu, get me a bowl of osmanthus sour plum soup. After dealing with that scumbag for so long, I am about to throw up. A Chu curtsied in acknowledgement and quickly returned with the sour plum soup. Just then, the sound of doors and windows rattling suddenly broke the silence of the room. I waved my hand at a Chu, already accustomed to this. A Chu tactfully withdrew from the room and closed the door tightly. The moment the door closed, the familiar scent of sandalwood had already enveloped me. Before I could react, I fell into a warm embrace. The man had elegant features, his phoenix eyes lowered, his gaze filled with nothing but seductive affection for me. The visitor was none other than Prince Shen, Xiao Yue, the current emperor's most favored youngest brother. He was also my secret little lover whom I'd been sneaking around with for 2 years. Oh my god, finally my CP is making their entrance. This entrance is just too romantic. Sandalwood fragrance, passionate embrace, phoenix eyes lowered. This kind of description really makes your heart race. Xiao Yue's timing is also perfect, appearing right after the female lead was harassed by that scumbag. He is literally a knight in shining armor. Is their 2-year secret relationship finally going to come to light? I am so excited. Did you get the divorce document? I pushed Xiao Yue away with my hand, glaring at him angrily. This guy is so annoying, always bringing up sore subjects. Xiao Yue understood the moment he saw my expression, instantly furious. His obsession with the divorce document was no less than mine. Why don't I just kill Jihang myself? Save us all the trouble. I knocked him on the head. That won't do. I don't want to be stuck on the Jai family's genealogy forever. Besides, I still have my next step planned. Xiao Yue was unwilling to accept this, so we just wait around. What right does Jihang have to keep you tied down? You two were never meant to be together. Xiao Yue was right. Marrying Jihang was a mistake from the start back. Then when my parents suddenly passed away, I came to the capital city to seek refuge with the Ji family, who had ties with my ancestors. Father said the Ji family had been loyal and righteous for generations, and would surely not mistreat an orphan girl like me. But father forgot. Even the loyal can fall from grace, and the Ji family was long past its former glory. I brought a fortune with me to the capital city not to seek refuge or marry, but to venture into business and restore the Shen family's reputation as wealthy merchants. However, I was too naive back then. Unaware that possessing treasure invites trouble, I had no idea that Madame Ji had been scheming against me ever since she received the letter my parents sent entrusting me to her care. When I first entered the Ji residence, she had Ji Hung sneak into my courtyard under the pretense of meeting his new sister, trying to ruin my reputation. She only miscalculated my character. The moment Ji Hung appeared before me, I unceremoniously beat him out of the guest courtyard. Ji Hung couldn't save face after the beating and forbade the servants from spreading the word, so Madame Ji's plan fell through. After this incident, I prepared to leave the Jai family and establish myself independently. Little did I know Madame Ji was so vicious. To keep me there, she had me surrounded and confined to the guest courtyard. Later, she even bribed the government office to draw up a marriage contract between me and Ji Hung and spread news of the Shenji marriage outside. I tried to escape 4 times, and without exception, I was caught and brought back every time. At that time, my wings weren't fully grown. A commoner couldn't fight against officials, so I could only bide my time. On the wedding day, that old hag gave me muscle-weakening powder and threw me onto the bridal bed, bound hand and foot. All of this Ji-hung knew from beginning to end. Before the grand red wedding hall, he confessed his love passionately, saying I was the most beautiful woman he'd ever seen, that he fell for me at first sight and would marry no one but me. But I was like livestock on a chopping board, gagged and bound, unable to move. Yet he pretended not to see. Mother Ji coveted my family's wealth. Ji-hung lusted after my beauty. They disregarded my dignity and trampled me into the mud as they pleased. Ji-hung should be grateful he was called to war that day. Otherwise, it wouldn't have been long before he became a ghost under my blade. After escaping the wedding night, my mind gradually calmed down. I began to change my strategy. I pretended to be deeply in love with Ji-heng, gradually making Mother Ji lower her guard. Seeing that I no longer resisted, Mother Ji began scheming to seize my dowry. At first it was coaxing, then threats and coercion, and later she even conspired with her maiden family to sneak into my courtyard at night. Fortunately, I had already brought the highly skilled Achu by my side, and after experiencing the forced marriage, my vigilance surged, successfully dodging scheme after scheme. After Mother Ji returned empty-handed time, and again she began using the matter of taking concubines to tame me. It just so happened that I was taking stock of business opportunities at the time and was short on people. Whenever I spotted capable and outstanding women, I found ways to send them before Mother Ji. These women were generally burdened by family background, status, and circumstances, their talents with nowhere to be displayed. I didn't mind giving them a hand in less than 2 years. 13 capable and loyal women successively entered the household. Mother Ji thought she was making trouble for me, when in reality she was spending money to raise people for me. Then have Ji-hung come forward to change their registration to commoner status, and everything will fall into place naturally. Xiao Yue cupped my face with both hands, pulling my thoughts back. Hurry up and tell me. What do we do? Play it by ear. It won't drag on too long. The matters in Qingzhou can't wait either. Qingzhou is my parents' hometown. Their greatest wish before they passed was to return and settle there, using the money they earned to do something for the people of their homeland. After sending Madame Ji off to the afterlife, I began moving the businesses to Qingzhou one by one. Now the residence is set up, the servants are in place. Even the last cart of treasures has been sent over. All that is missing is me, the person in charge. Hearing me mention Qingzhou, Xiao Yue's face darkened again, and his hands cupping my face unconsciously tightened their grip. Only when he heard me cry out in pain did he withdraw his hands. You heartless woman, you are really going to abandon me after sleeping with me for 2 years for nothing. As if you didn't enjoy it too. I gently pushed him away, got up and walked toward the bed. Shedding my heavy outer garments as I went, sitting on the edge of the bed, I lifted one foot and beckoned Xiao Yue. With it, on my fair, slender ankle, was clasped a silver bracelet, adorned with a white jade tiger. This was a birthday gift Xiao Yue gave me a few months ago. The white jade tiger head on it was carved and polished by his own hands. Well then, Prince Shen, are you coming? The tides of passion surged for who knows how long. When the clouds and rain finally subsided, Xiao Yue held me contentedly, burying his head in my bare neck, softly inhaling my scent. This was his favorite thing to do, taking advantage of his good mood. I continued the topic from earlier. I must leave the capital city, Yue. Let's end things here. Xiao Yue tightened his arms around me as if I would vanish the very next moment. He remained silent for a long time. Just when I thought he would avoid the subject again, I heard a muffled reply, "Do as you wish." You never cared about me anyway. I sighed softly, turned around in his embrace to face him, and refuted him in an extremely serious tone. I do care actually, it wasn't just caring. I was very fond of him. When we first met, I had already set my sights on Xiao Yue's beauty. Speaking of how I came to know Xiao Yue, I should thank Stepmother Ji. I wanted to find some poison to send Stepmother Ji to her grave, so I snuck into a famous medical clinic in the capital city at night. As it happened, That clinic belonged to Xiaoyue. Even more coincidentally, Xiaoyue was there that night and caught me red-handed, dressed in dark clothes and acting suspiciously. This is the first time this prince has seen someone steal from a medical clinic. Only then did I realize there was someone else in the room. I instinctively tried to fight back, but the moment I made my move, I was subdued by the more skilled Xiaoyue. I was extremely anxious but couldn't break free. Tell this prince what your purpose is for coming here. Steal poison? What for? I didn't want to say. So he threw out bait. I have experience doing bad things. Why don't you tell me about it? Maybe I can give you a pointer or two. No choice, I had to tell him about the crappy things that happened to me, though I framed it as an ordinary commoner's family. Who knew Xiaoyue was so sharp-witted, immediately seeing through my identity? Oh, so you are that general's wife who became a living widow right after marrying in. Xiaoyue sneered. Didn't expect that Jiheng fellow has little ability yet managed to drag back such a pretty little wife. Xiaoyue's use of drag secretly alarmed me. Does Prince Shen know what the Jai household has been doing? Xiaoyue chuckled lightly. Madam Ji, don't underestimate this prince's capabilities. I furrowed my brows. My surname is Shen. I had long heard of this Prince Shen's reputation. Rumor has it he was the only surviving royal bloodline besides His Majesty from the succession struggle back then. His Majesty doted on him greatly, which is how he developed his unruly and unrestrained temperament. But watching how he acts and speaks, plus his ability to reach the heavens, there is a hint of him hiding his true strength. Now that you've heard the story, what advice does Prince Shen have? Xiaoyue didn't seem to mind my rudeness. Poison works fast, but easily leaves traces. Miss Shen might want to consider other methods. After speaking, Xiaoyue called over the most skilled old doctor in the clinic. Xiaoyue smiled slyly. All things in nature counter each other. Have you heard of this, Miss Shen? That night, the old doctor listed many examples of food incompatibilities for me. This method was most suitable for someone like Madame Ji who couldn't control her appetite. The only downside was that it took effect slowly. I had to wait a full half-year before seeing any results. When the timing was right, I began the Yushan scam, provoking Madame Ji into such a rage that her illness hit her like a landslide. The whole thing was executed perfectly. Madame Ji went through 3 doctors, and none of them could find the root cause. The only thing I miscalculated was that Xiaoyue used this matter to blackmail me. From occasional encounters now and then, to becoming a permanent VIP at my restaurant, and finally entering my bedroom and becoming my little lover. I was truly hopeless, unable to resist the temptation of beauty, and ended up entangled with this man. I cupped Xiaoyue's face with both hands. I care, there will never be anyone else in this world who can attract me the way you do. Not only did he hand me the knife when I was doing bad things, but he also taught me hand by hand how to unsheathe the blade. When I did well, he applauded for me. When I didn't do well, he'd find a roundabout way to smooth things over for me. Even when my parents were alive, they never indulged me so unconditionally. But Xiaoyue, many things in this world can't be perfect just because of love. You are a noble and precious prince, destined to command the winds and rains in this capital city. I am merely a merchant's daughter with few desires. I only wish to work hard to restore the Shen family to its former glory. In the end, our paths diverge. Let us just leave it at this. Xiaoyue said nothing more, silently rising to dress himself, and, for the first time, didn't spend the night by my side. As he left, his faint voice drifted in with the wind seeping through. What exactly have we been to each other these past 2 years? I sat in silence for a long while, and in the end there was only a sigh. Perhaps it could only be called a fleeting romance. Jiheng acted quickly. Before long, the 13 young ladies were joyfully sent out of the general's manor, each holding their commoner registration papers. After thorough investigation, Jiheng also confirmed the matter of me losing my dowry and my infertility. But the divorce document. He stubbornly refused to budge on that. He even started avoiding me to dodge the issue. Even when I barged into the main courtyard, I couldn't catch him. It wasn't because Jiheng had deep feelings for me. He was just unwilling to accept it and making a fuss. This left me extremely vexed these past few days. With the bitter summer heat upon us, even my appetite suffered. Just when I was at my most irritated, Zhou actually came to see me alone. My mind raced, and I hatched a plan. I hurriedly had a Chu dress me up nicely, even putting on all the precious jewelry I had once taken from Zheheng's mother. Whether it looked old-fashioned didn't matter. I just had to look wealthy and prosperous. Not only that, the living room also had to be filled with a bunch of antiques that looked very expensive. When Zhou Sheng gracefully walked in, she raised her head and was immediately dazzled by the room's golden splendor. Then she turned her head, and there I was, sitting in the seat of honor, exuding an air of nobility. A flash of amazement, jealousy, and determination to possess appeared in Zhou Sheng's eyes. I acted as if I hadn't noticed, warmly inviting her to take a seat, and as I raised my hand, a top-quality mutton fat white jade bracelet was clearly revealed, provoked by this. Zhou Sheng couldn't help but speak in a passive-aggressive manner. I originally planned to come pay my respects to sister earlier, but unexpectedly Brother Heng kept obstructing me in every way. It made me think sister was some kind of fearsome monster. Sister won't blame me for this, right? Zhou Sheng appeared innocent and naive, but was actually affected and pretentious. I lazily leaned back in my chair, the pearls and jade ornaments on my head tinkling softly with my movements. Onsai, divorce the general. I will leave. Miss Zhou naturally doesn't need to interact with me much. You are going to divorce Brother Heng. Zhou Sheng was greatly shocked, her eyes fixed tightly on my bracelet, not hiding her greed at all. What? The general didn't mention this to you. I thought he was really anxious to marry you, unwilling to be outdone, Zhou Sheng stubbornly said. Brother Heng naturally told me about it. I just forgot for a moment, that is all. He will definitely marry me. That would be wonderful. Once Miss Zhou marries in, you'll be the main mistress in the mansion. When that time comes, this small courtyard, everything I am wearing, and all those things will all belong to you. I spoke temptingly, caressing the precious jewelry on my body one by one. Zhou Sheng's greed stirred, yet she didn't forget to question me. Are you truly willing to give up this noble status as the general's wife? In her eyes, Jihang was heroic and accomplished, an ideal husband candidate. But in my eyes, Jihang was nothing but a dandy resting on his ancestors' achievements and lording it over others. As far as I knew, among the 6 generals rewarded for this victory, Jihang ranked the lowest. His Majesty only gave him monetary rewards without any promotion or power. Without his ancestral prestige, with Jihang's incompetence, he wouldn't even qualify to be a squad leader. Let alone a majestic general. I explained the matters of the dowry and my infertility, then showered Zhou Sheng with flattery. I sighed heavily. The general indulges Miss Zhou in everything. Why don't you help me get the divorce document so I can leave sooner? When Zhou Sheng heard about the dowry, her face was full of indignation, as if her own belongings had been desecrated. Later, when she learned of my infertility, she couldn't help but secretly gloat. Finally, she raised her head as if bestowing a favor. Fine then, I'll be merciful and help you out. Zhou Sheng was true to her word. That night, Jihang indeed personally presented the divorce document he had signed and sealed. I took the divorce document and almost couldn't hold back from laughing out loud. Fortunately, I quickly met Jihang's face full of hypocritical affection. Huai, I don't want to divorce you, but I really have no choice. Shenger, she is pregnant, but don't worry, I'll soon bring you back into the manor. I simply couldn't believe my ears. You want to take me as a concubine? Jihang nodded, his face full of longing. Our love runs deep and true. We love each other. Heaven surely won't bear to let us be separated. Ha, if I give you that chance, my surname isn't Shen. Early the next morning, I took the divorce document and went to the Court of Judicial Review. First, to submit the divorce document to the government office to change my household registration. Second, I wanted to sue the Jiaxi family for embezzling my dowry. Xiao Yue quickly got the news and quietly rushed over. Although he had been angry at me these days for being unfaithful to him and refused to see me, he still cared for me after all, just by seeing how quickly the people from the Court of Judicial Review moved. One could tell who was pushing things along behind the scenes. Soon, the people from the Court of Judicial Review accompanied me to the Ji Manor. Jihang, upon hearing the servant's announcement, quickly appeared in the main hall with Zhou Shenghuai. What is going on? I leisurely sipped my tea. Ignoring him, the Chief Justice of the court spoke with a stern face. Jihang, Miss Shen accuses your Ji family of embezzling nearly 1 million taels of her dowry. Do you admit it or not? Jihang's face was full of shock, then he flew into a rage on the spot. I didn't stop spouting nonsense. Why, what do you mean by this? Your dowry was clearly snatched away by your mother to buy fake jade mountains, and she got scammed and lost everything. Today we're divorcing, and according to Shang Dynasty law, my dowry must be returned to me. So now you naturally have to compensate. Jiheng looked at me in disbelief. Huai, are you slandering me like this because I am going to marry Shenger? Are you jealous? But I explained to you yesterday this is just a stalling tactic. And afterwards, I sneered and approached him step by step. Jiheng, don't forget how I married you back then. Lying casually is one thing, but how did you manage to trap yourself in your own lies? Impossible. You like me, you love me. Otherwise, why would you be willing to stay at the G residence, waiting for me for 3 years? Like, don't make me laugh to death. These 3 years, whenever I thought about what your mother and you did to me, I felt utterly disgusted. I waited here just for today. Jiheng was stung by my cold and resentful gaze, scared into shrinking back and falling silent. You'd better admit to seizing my dowry. Otherwise, I'll also charge you with forcibly abducting a commoner woman. The former only costs you money, but the latter will cost you your future. Weigh it yourself. After saying that, I returned to my seat and leisurely sipped my tea. Jiheng stood in a deadlock for a long time, and finally resigned himself to his fate. But he is not stupid either. He claimed everything was done by his old mother alone. He can pay compensation, but the charges shouldn't fall on his head. Truly the old hag's good son. Wonder if the old hag's coffin lid can stay shut right now. Because of Xiao Yue, the Court of Judicial Review didn't dare delay. That very day they urged Jiheng to compensate me cash, banknotes, jewelry, farmland, properties. Anyway, he had to make up the full amount of my dowry. It wasn't until the sun was about to set that Jiheng finally scraped together enough. Looking around, Jiheng had practically given me more than half of the G residence. Zhou Sheng's eyes were red with anger beside him. The divorce document was approved, the household registration was changed, and the money was swindled into my hands. I cheerfully led my people back home in grand procession. However, I soon couldn't smile anymore. During dinner, a thought suddenly flashed through my mind. I suddenly remembered my monthly cycle seemed to have been absent for quite a while, and hurriedly had Achu fetch a doctor. Go quietly, don't alert anyone, and make sure to avoid the clinics under Xiao Yue's control. Achu quickly brought the doctor into the residence secretly. In less than half an hour, the doctor quietly left, leaving me standing there in a daze. I am pregnant right when I am about to leave the capital city. Achu was very worried. Miss, should we tell the prince? I silently shook my head. I don't want this child to become a bargaining chip he thinks can keep me here. Then, miss, do you want it? This child, I squeezed my eyes shut hard, quickly making up my mind. I want it. I want him to have the Shen surname. He will carry on the Shen family's bloodline. I couldn't help but think of Xiao Yue. His birth mother died early, and the late emperor didn't give him much attention or affection either. The only one who doted on him wholeheartedly was the emperor who wanted to raise him into a good-for-nothing. He always said his family ties were thin, perhaps destined to be alone his whole life. I used to feel sorry for him, but now I am about to be the one who severs his family ties. It is too cruel, but I have no other choice. Thinking of this, I walked to the writing desk, picked up a brush, and wrote a letter, then had Achu secretly deliver it to the Prince Shen's residence. In the letter, I invited Xiao Yue to stay at my residence for a while. At least before I leave, I'll try living as husband and wife with him, and let it be the last time he spends with the little one in my belly. On the second night, Xiao Yue came. Before I even saw him, I was roughly pressed onto the bed by him. Before I could speak, his hot kisses came pressing down densely. He fiercely tangled his lips and tongue with mine, our scorching breaths mingling together. Didn't you say you don't want me? What did you call me here for? Thinking of how unfair I was being to him. My patience for coaxing him surged unprecedentedly. I want to, but I can't afford to. In a few days I'll be leaving the capital city. Before that, let's spend our time well together. Okay, a family of 3, living well together. Xiao Yue pursed his lips and said nothing. I sighed softly. Do you know why I've been working so hard to earn money these past 2 years, and why I killed that old hag? Without waiting for Xiao Yue to answer, I gave the answer myself. Although I was born into a merchant family, I was pampered by my parents since childhood. 3 years ago when I came to the capital city, my wings were forcibly broken by others, drugged, imprisoned, forced into marriage. Each and every incident dragged me into the mud to be trampled upon. When I was tied up and thrown onto the wedding bed, I crawled pathetically while that old hag looked down at me from above. The sound of my dignity shattering still invades my dreams to this day. The capital city is a place of nightmares for me. After hearing this, Xiao Yue remained silent for a long time, but eventually softened his attitude and held me in his arms with tender affection. So you worked desperately to earn money to break free from the cage, and killed the one who started it all to shatter the old nightmares. I lifted my head from his embrace. The only variable was you. If I hadn't met you, this path might not have been so smooth. Xiao Yue humphed twice. Sounds nice, but you are just coaxing me. These are heartfelt words, Your Highness, fortunately. This man was easy to coax. A few more sweet words and he was quickly appeased. Xiao Yue hurriedly took off his clothes, lying half naked on the bed to seduce me. Wife, come quickly, I can't wait any longer. That is really not necessary. Not these few days, why? Xiao Yue's face was full of indignation. Monthly period liar, it is not supposed to be these days for you. It is delayed probably because I've been too worried lately, Xiao Yue. For the following days, Xiao Yue and I lived together like an ordinary married couple. Sharing meals and intimate moments at night, life couldn't have been more blissful. On Xiao Yue's birthday, I promised to go boating on the lake with him. After tonight, I was planning to leave. Xiao Yue was quite sullen after learning about this, but he also knew he couldn't stop me. To cheer him up, I specially took him out to stroll around and enjoy the lake. Xiao Yue really liked the feeling of openly holding my hand. Huai, why are you here? An annoying voice suddenly rang out. Jiheng and Zhou were strolling hand in hand and happened to appear right in front of us. Jiheng stared fixedly at my hand, holding Xiao Yue as Prince Shen. How can you two be together? I looked indifferently at the two people blocking our way. Jiheng's face was full of anger, wearing clothes of unsuitable fabric. Long gone was the spirited young general he once was. As for Zhou, on the day of the divorce she was adorned with jewels and hairpins, but now she had returned to that plain appearance from before. By now her pregnancy was already showing, whether it was a difficult pregnancy or the affairs of the general's manor wearing her down. She looked listless. Jiheng repeatedly pressed me about my relationship with Xiao Yue. I didn't want to bother with him, but Xiao Yue wrapped his arm around my waist and domineeringly pulled me into his embrace. If General Ji doesn't know how to speak, then speak less. Setting aside that you and Zhao Zhao never consummated your marriage, now that you are already divorced, what right do you have to ask such questions? Jiheng was choked, speechless, jealous of the intimacy between Xiao Yue and me, and even more surprised that he called me by my nickname so affectionately. You two, this person couldn't say anything decent, so to avoid letting him affect my mood, I decided to take a detour. At this moment, Zhou, who had been silent all along, spoke up. So that is why Miss Shen was so eager to divorce back then. Turns out she was already secretly involved with someone else. And to think Brother Heng has been holding on to that divorce document, thinking of you every day, even calling your name in his dreams. Yet you've stooped so low. Zhou deliberately raised her voice, attracting quite a few onlookers. Jiheng's expression turned extremely ugly. Zhou thought she had successfully sowed discord, completely unaware of the real reason for Jiheng's change in expression. I laughed at her courting death. Didn't you hear clearly what Jiheng called me just now? What? I smiled without answering and gave a look to Xiao Yue's two guards. The two guards received the order and stepped forward, slapping Jiheng 3 loud times across the face, knocking him down to the ground. Your esteemed wife doesn't know her place and speaks wildly. Taking pity on her pregnancy, this punishment can only be borne by General Jai himself. In the future, remember to teach your esteemed wife some manners so she doesn't go around offending people. After speaking, I walked up to Zhou and whispered softly in her ear, You used your pregnancy to force Jiheng to bring out the divorce document. I am quite grateful to you for that. I am just a bit curious, how did Jiheng, whom I gave a sterilization drug to, manage to get you pregnant? As soon as I finished speaking, Zhou pretty little face instantly turned deathly pale. As early as 3 years ago on our wedding day, I had slipped the sterilization drug into Jiheng's wedding wine. That sterilization drug was something I paid a fortune for. Its effects were potent. Jiheng couldn't possibly have any offspring, so where did Zhou Sheng's pregnancy come from? I straightened up and gave a pointed warning. You've been in the capital for quite some time now, Miss Zhou. It is about time you learned what should and shouldn't be said. Always charging around recklessly like that is very unbecoming. I turned around, about to take Xiao Yure's hand, but was interrupted by Jiheng Waiyi. Don't you think you owe me an explanation? Oh, almost forgot about him. I walked straight over and gave him 2 more hard slaps across the face. Who do you think you are to demand an explanation from me? Jiheng was beaten until fury rose in his heart, struggling violently but unable to escape the guard's restraint. I laughed heartily, feeling humiliated by me, huh? Back then when you drugged me and forced me into marriage, tied me up like a pig, I felt the same way. I wanted to eat your flesh and drink your blood, Jiheng argued loudly. I just liked you too much and didn't want you to leave. What did I do wrong? Like my ass, I shouted, and slapped him again. Do you dare say you and your mother weren't coveting my Shen family's wealth? Do you dare say you weren't driven by lust trying to take me by force? Scum like you is actually a general of the great Sheng dynasty. How utterly ridiculous. The onlooking commoners began whispering among themselves because of my words. Seeing this, Jiheng wanted to explain something, but Xiao Yue ordered someone to gag his mouth and tie him up tightly. This binding is a gift from this prince. Just 2 short hours, General Ji enjoy it well and experience how Zhao Xiao felt back then. Jiheng and Zhou Sheng were dragged away by the guards in utter disgrace, mocking voices filling their ears all the way back to the GI residence. Hearing it made me feel completely refreshed in body and mind. Compared to my good mood, Xiao Yue's expression wasn't so pleasant. Because I told him I was leaving the capital early tonight, mainly fearing that delays might cause problems. Who knows if Jiheng might go all out and make a move against me. Xiao Yue understood what I meant. Even though he couldn't bear to let me go, he didn't try to make me stay. That evening, I personally cooked a meal for Xiao Yue. All his favorite dishes, Xiao Yue ate in silence, chewing slowly, bite by bite, as if trying to engrave the taste into his memory, seeing him eat until he was almost stuffed yet still unwilling to put down his chopsticks. I sighed quietly, stop eating. Let me eat a bit more, or I won't get to taste this again. I left a recipe for the Manor's kitchen maids. They'll cook for you from now on. They're all just ordinary dishes. The dishes are ordinary, but you are not. In all my life, I've only ever met one of you. Xiao Yue brushed aside the hair by my ear and gently pressed a kiss there. What I love most is watching you do bad things so openly and shamelessly. Xiao Yue's eyes were filled with love, as if he wanted to melt me away. These past 2 years, Xiao Yue has done all sorts of shady things for me. Countless times at night, he'd climb over the Jai residence walls like a thief, avoiding everyone's eyes and ears to sneak into my chambers. All night, we were fooling around too much and accidentally startled Chu, who was on night watch. When Chu came in, Xiao Yue was still half naked, awkwardly curled up in the corner of my bed, a dignified and noble prince who could have any beauty in the world in his arms. Yet he fell for me of all people. I felt sweet about this, yet often felt anxious because of it. I am just an ordinary businesswoman. What did I do to deserve this? Though moved by Xiao Yue's sincerity, I still had to leave. In the future, he would naturally have a well-matched noble lady to be his princess. Chu and I set off under the cover of night. Xiao Yue didn't come to see me off, but had his personal attendant escort us out of the city. Miss Shen, His Highness didn't mean to not come see you off. It is just that he couldn't bear parting with you. So it is fine, I understand. Take good care of your prince from now on. Don't let him do as he pleases recklessly. Especially with cold wine and chilled dishes, have him consume less of those. Oh right, I also made him a few winter garments with my own hands. Tell him about it. Also, I rambled on with instructions for quite a while, until Chu couldn't stand it anymore and came over to urge me to leave. Returning home, parting with longing. I hadn't expected that when it came time to leave, the reluctance to part with Xiao Yue would surge up so overwhelmingly, leaving me at a loss. Forget it, I had to go eventually anyway. Just as I turned to board the carriage, the quiet night sky was pierced by a sharp sound. In an instant, 4 or 5 masked men suddenly appeared, approaching our carriage with large blades. Oh my, such a gorgeous beauty, brothers. We're in luck tonight, boss. These 2 little lasses are so tender, I like 'em. I looked at the newcomers with an unfriendly expression. my hand hidden in my sleeve already gripping my self-defense tools, powder in my left hand, small knife in my right. Achu also quietly reached for the flexible sword at her waist. The bandits thought we were unarmed and approached us with lecherous grins. Achu caught them off guard, raising her hand to unsheath her sword. The flexible blade sliced sharply through the night sky, and in just an instant, the nearest bandit had his throat cleanly slit by Achu. Seeing this, the other bandits roared in fury and fought back on the spot. But they didn't expect a fierce palm strike coming from behind. It was Xiao Yue's guard. He had sensed something was wrong and turned back. In less than half a moment, all 5 men had fallen to the ground. Aside from the dead one, I drugged 3 others with a sedative, leaving only the leader conscious talk. "Who sent you?" Though this road wasn't the main highway, it wasn't far from it either, so bandits wouldn't dare cause trouble easily. These 5 were so brazen, only a fool would believe there was no one behind them. The big man kept his mouth shut, not daring to speak. I wasn't annoyed either, and took out another medicine bottle. As soon as the cap was opened, white smoke seeped out from the bottle's opening, and a sizzling sound came from inside, extremely unsettling. I pressed the bottle against the big man's tightly shut lips. "If you won't talk, then you are worthless. And if you are worthless, then go die for me." This gut-wrenching poison is perfect for stubborn ones like you. Seeing the contents of the bottle about to pour out, the big man finally couldn't take it anymore and begged loudly for mercy. I'll talk, please spare me. Great lady, I was blind and failed to recognize greatness. I was wrong." The big man spilled everything about the mastermind hiring assassins to kill me and taking the opportunity to violate me. As expected, it was Zhou Sheng. But what puzzled me was how Zhou Sheng, an orphan daughter of a deputy general, could be connected to these bandits. I had no time to investigate now, so I had the guards clean up the mess and report back to Xiao Yue, letting him handle uncovering the truth. Afterward, I officially set off on my journey home, returning to Qingzhou, my parents' hometown. I felt like a fish returning to the sea. Shedding all my shackles, I lived a carefree and leisurely life. The little one in my belly was also well behaved, even as my belly grew visible. It didn't give me trouble, allowing me to peacefully accomplish what I wanted to do. After returning to Qingzhou, I took the family fortune my parents left behind, along with the silver I'd earned in the capital city over the years, opened many shops, helped the poor, and even partnered with the local government office to establish 2 schools open to all common folk. My parents' dying wishes, I could finally fulfill them step by step. Now the house was lively, business was booming outside, and I was no longer that orphan girl anyone could bully. The only regret was that the one I loved was beyond my reach. Miss, your spirits have been quite poor lately. I noticed your belly seems a bit bigger than usual for 5 or 6 months. The wet nurse fanned me with a round fan, her heart aching for me. I lay lazily in the rocking chair. It is just that my body's gotten heavy, a bit tiring is all. Isn't it just exhaustion? This prince has never seen a woman who can run better than you, and you even ran off with the child. A male voice filled with deep resentment suddenly rang out from behind. Hearing that voice I'd been dreaming of, I abruptly stood up from the rocking chair, startling the wet nurse and Achu out of their wits. The travel-worn Xiao Yue was also quite frightened by me and hurried over to support me. "Ancestor, be gentler with your movements." I was still spacing out, my words coming out incoherently. "You, how come you are here?" Before Xiao Yue could answer, I blinked my eyes and started shedding tears uncontrollably. "You want to take the child from me, don't you?" "You can't take him. The child is mine. He is going to carry on the family line for our old Shen family. Woo woo. You can't do this to me. Woo woo." Hick, seeing me cry until I started hiccuping. Xiao Yue was so anxious he broke into a sweat. In the end, having no other choice, he simply scooped me up by the waist and placed me on his lap. "Stop crying, ancestor. Who told you I was going to take the child?" He waved his hand to dismiss Achu and the wet nurse. "I've known you for so long and never seen you cry. How come you've turned into a little crybaby now?" I retorted while hiccuping, "You think I want to. It is all because of this little brat causing trouble." The further along I got, the more sentimental I became. Sometimes just letting my thoughts wander would easily make my eyes turn red. "You really aren't here to take the child," Xiao Yue said irritably. "I am clearly here to take back my wife." "I don't want to go to the capital city," I pouted, feeling like crying again. Xiao Yue swiftly pinched my lips with quick reflexes. "Who is asking you to go to the capital city? If this mountain won't come to me, can't I come to the mountain instead?" I went to ask my imperial brother to let me establish my fief. My territory is right here, so from now on I'll stay in Qingzhou and never leave. Only then did I learn that Xiao Yue had regretted it the very day after I left. Regretted not being able to abandon everything and leave with me. After enduring over a month, he ultimately couldn't bear the pain of lovesickness. So he hurried into the palace to beg His Majesty the Emperor for mercy, to allow him to establish his fief. Those few short sentences bloomed in my ears like the most brilliant fireworks. Something I never dared to even dream of before had actually come true. His Majesty the Emperor allows you to act so recklessly. No matter how much my imperial brother values me, I can never surpass that dragon throne. My willingness to establish a fief lets him put down a heavy burden from his heart. Why wouldn't he agree? But maybe in the future you'll regret it. I won't regret it. Xiao Yue had something in his heart he didn't tell me before he truly decided to leave. He had made a hypothesis if one day he really sat on the throne, but I wasn't by his side, would he still be happy? He soon had his answer, the living me or the cold dragon throne. He chose the former. Xiao Yue held me tightly, so can Ba Shen take me in now? I still hesitated a bit, but the child in my belly can't take your surname. What? Oh my god, this plot twist totally caught me off guard. So the female lead is pregnant. And Xiao Yue actually gave up the throne for her and chose to be in Fifaft. This kind of giving up everything for love storyline is just too sweet. Though the issue of the child's surname is indeed a bit tricky, after all the Shen family needs to continue the bloodline, but seeing how much Xiao Yue dotes on her, he'll definitely compromise. Right? I am already looking forward to their happy ending. All these years I've been desperately saving money just to rebuild the Shen family, but now the Shen family has so few members left, I can't let the Shen family decline. This child must have the Shen surname and must be entered into the Shen family's genealogy. After Xiao Yue heard my reasons, he didn't dwell on it much and agreed with my decision, but the second child has to take my surname, preferably a soft and tender little girl just like you. Xiao Yue leaned down, his warm kiss falling upon me, intense affection overwhelming and enveloping me completely. The long-missed intimacy made me intoxicated, dazedly forgetting the passage of time. Xiao Yue also brought me news about Jiheng and Zhou Sheng on this trip. When he learned I had nearly been killed, Xiao Yue was furious as thunder. Before dawn even broke, he dragged those criminals bound into the court of judicial review in just 2 hours. He had extracted their connection to Zhou Sheng. Not only that, but he also uncovered an old case from years ago. The leader of those bandits was originally Zhou Sheng's childhood sweetheart. After his family fell into ruin, he became a bandit, and Zhou Sheng had been helping him do evil all along. Later, Zhou Sheng met Jiheng in the army and began scheming to marry into the Ji family. So she had her childhood sweetheart shoot a poisoned arrow at Jiheng, and she timed it perfectly to push her own father out in front of it. That is how the whole act of claiming gratitude for saving his life came about. I was shocked on the spot. Zhou Sheng killed her own father with her own hands just to become the general's wife. That is just too inhuman, after obtaining all the evidence. Xiao Yue personally led people from the Court of Judicial Review to the Ji residence to arrest her. Jiheng got the news and hurried back home, just in time to hear everything about how Zhou Sheng had schemed against him. Jiheng flew into a rage on the spot, rushing forward and slapping Zhou Sheng several times across the face, seeing that everything was exposed and that Jiheng was treating her like this. Zhou Sheng simply gave up and let everything out, even revealing that the child in her belly wasn't Jiheng's. At this, Jiheng's eyes turned red with murderous rage, and he pinned Zhou Sheng to the ground and beat her savagely. Before long, a pool of blood flowed out from beneath Zhou Sheng. The child was gone, Zhou Sheng's spirit was gone, her body was ruined beyond repair, and now she is still suffering in the Court of Judicial Review's prison. As for Jiheng, Xiao Yue directly tied him up and brought him before His Majesty the Emperor to file a complaint, telling of all the terrible deeds the Jai mother and son had done. Jiheng was stripped of his position and investigated, then exiled to the frontier for hard labor. The Jai family household fell into decline. Xiao Yue grinned cheerfully. Now that the bad guys got their comeuppance, shouldn't we two good people also live happily ever after? I also grinned cheerfully. So how do you want to live? Then let's announce to all of Qingzhou that you, Ba Shen, are getting married. Come drink the wedding wine. Proceeding to the fief refers to members of the imperial family going to reside in and manage their own fiefdoms. Usually, princes leave the capital city after coming of age to go to their respective princely territories. It is both an honor and a political arrangement that helps distribute imperial power. Xiao Yu's commentary: this is the ancient version of "I can give up everything for love." Xiao Yu's move here is absolutely textbook-level romantic sacrifice. Modern people at most change cities for work when it comes to love. But this guy straight up gave up his power and status in the capital city to go be a local lord in the countryside. This kind of devotion is enviable to the point of tears. But then again, being able to find a prince willing to go to his fief for you, that kind of luck is absolutely incredible.